1.
All right, let's hope this one works this time. It only took us this long. All right, anyways, brand new podcast, the Brothers of the Proletariat. We're going to call it the Broletariat because that's some cringeworthy symbolism for you all. I'm Joseph Kaminski. You all know me. You're on my website. If you don't know me by now, I don't care. And I'm here with two new guys because Elliot ditched us.
Traitor.
Thanks, Elliot.
What a cuck.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm here with Elijah and Omar. They can feel free to introduce themselves however they want at this point. You bicker who goes next. I don't care.
Elijah goes first.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Elijah. I'm a university student. I study biochemistry and psychology.
All right. My name's Omar. I'm also a university student and an aspiring musician, and I live pretty far away from these guys. So.
And that's why I blame him for us having to spend about an hour and a half trying to get this podcast to start.
Oh, come on. You know it's you. You know
that's
you're speaking
probably
out of...
all of us.
No, it's you. You're speaking out of...
It's exclusively Joe.
It's exclusively Joe. He's just trying to pin the blame on us because we're the new guys. Hey, people on Joseph's website, don't listen to him.
It's never the guy who runs the show's fault.
All right, what are we going to be talking about today?
Well, let me just start off by saying this is a brand new podcast. Some of you might be looking at the logo and saying like, "Oh, what the hell is this?" Trust me, we're three university students. We're three university students, all with a really left bias. I'm assuming.
I'm gonna be.
We've been called a whole bunch.
Some more than others.
I'm gonna be the conservative sounding one compared to you guys. You guys are crazy.
Oh yeah, crazy. Anyways, we've all been called many things in our lives. We've been called leftists. We've been called communists. We've been called socialists. We've been called loonies. We've been called cucks. We've been called just about everything on the list.
Dude, I've been called right wing.
You're in a strange situation.
Dude,
I'm
on both sides of the spectrum. I am not only am I a racist and a misogynist, but I'm also a degenerate and a cuck. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you don't like Hillary Clinton, then you're a misogynist, and because Hillary Clinton is a woman of color, honorary woman of color, if you don't like Hillary Clinton, you're a racist.
Anyway, we have opened our arms to being called all of those nasty titles, so we're just going with it full force, and that's why we're embracing it. We are the Brothers of the Proletariat. Or, you know what? You wanted to call us Bernie Bros this entire election cycle. Y'all missed out on a good opportunity to call us the Broletariat, so here we are.
Yeah.
I for Bernie Bros. That's pretty cool. Makes me sound cooler than I am.
Now, let me just say, we're not the stereotypical leftists. We're not going to be that, the type of leftist that the media wants to show or the type of leftist that the Hillary Clinton campaign like to say existed. We're here. So just whatever. We're going to roll with it. Unlike previous adventures into podcasting, with that too. Unlike previous adventures into podcasting, this one's going to be completely unscripted, completely unorganized, and one hell of an issue. So that's probably why this is one of the most unorganized starts to a podcast that we've had. There was none of that introduction. We might have music at the beginning. I'm not sure. Just yet. That's post-editing, and since Elliot is no longer with us, or at least not with us at the moment, that means I'm stuck doing all the editing. And if you know my organizational habits, you know that I'm probably not going to edit.
Yeah, editing's for the poor and homosexuals.
God.
Wow, we are going to offend just about everybody in this first episode, aren't we?
Good.
Goddamn homosexuals.
It's okay. I can say that
one time I was dating this guy, and then he tells me he's a homosexual. Can you believe that?
Oh my god! What a fag! All right,
If you haven't noticed, this might be on my. I just want to say real quick, if you haven't noticed, this might be going on my website, but I have absolutely no control over what these two people say. So if Donald Trump tends to be listening, drone them first.
Yes, please. Please. I want to be held by the sweet embrace of death. All right, now let's start this garbage. This giant tire fire started. All right.
All right, let's go. If people are still listening by now, I'm actually very surprised. But let's just go.
All right.
What's first on the agenda? I'm going to let you two pick.
Let's talk about his cabinet.
What about his cabinet?
All right.
Oh no,
Donald Trump.
You know what about his cabinet? Fucking
what?
Well, I don't know. Like President Bannon saying that he's gonna cut funding to UC Berkeley was the biggest thing I saw today.
Oh yeah, but yeah. I mean, if you're watching this now, last night there was that giant protest at UC Berkeley because that kike faggot was gonna appear and speak at the university.
He's not even Jewish. He's not even Jewish.
I thought he was.
No, he's not.
Ah, damn. Oops. Sorry.
The only thing I'm going to be completely honest. The only thing I know about Milo is that he is a massive troll and that he enjoys watching all of this rain down upon him. And I just want to say
he's also gay and he loves black dudes.
Yeah,
all right.
He has this weird,
I remember that from the meme.
Yeah, he does this weird fetishy thing where he fantasizes about black guys as being it's really gross. It's disgusting.
Well, that might also just be something that he's propelling to get more attention. But no, I just want to say,
I think it's legitimate.
From what I've been seeing about this guy is these protesters at UC Berkeley decided to actually commit heinous acts of violence, which it might sound weird, but even though all three of us are leftists, we do not condone violence for the most part.
No, I do not condone violence.
I
think this is.
Okay, wait. Let's slow down on that one though.
Well, two of us.
Well, let me rephrase what I mean by not promoting violence. I really don't promote going out and starting tire fires and writing "Kill Trump" on pillars because you're very unhappy, and that's what UC Berkeley kind of did.
I think it's completely counterintuitive to the entire anti-Trump movement because it's creating this sort of environment where Trump is going to be immune to any and all criticism because it's just going to be dismissed. As these crazy leftists that are
radicals.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I don't condone political violence of any sort because that just leads to a slippery slope, and I think it's not healthy. And I think one of the great things about Western democracy and Western civilization is that we don't hurt people based off of their political affiliations, and regardless of.
No, we just do it based on race. Western democracy.
Well,
in all seriousness, I can't endorse anything that these people are doing. I think that by doing this again, as let me reiterate, this just creates this giant wall of impenetrability that just shields Trump from all criticism, and it's not healthy. All presidents should be able to be called out when they do something bad, and this is not setting a very good precedent for what future protests and future organizations against Trump will be like. And I fear for the future of the Democratic Party and the left in general. And if it continues to be on this path, I'm afraid that it will just implode and become, the laughingstock of American politics, and that'd be sad. Anybody else want to make this not a monopoly?
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be that guy. I don't necessarily endorse lighting shit on fire to protest, but I think we have to be careful about how we actually define violence. I don't think breaking some shit is violence. I think
maybe not violent, but that's definitely destruction of property and vandalism.
Well, I'd like to. If you just look at it from a sociological level, though, let me revert back to a post that I recently posted on my website titled "Punching Nazis and Dirty Old Fascism," where I basically said you're committing violence when you are injuring someone and not necessarily bothering their daily life. I don't really think that if you are in the middle of a highway and you're being an irritant, let's say there's a whole big protest in the middle of the interstate, right, and people can't get to work, you're not committing violence. Just because
that's not violence. That's just being a nuisance. That's just being a nuisance.
That's being a nuisance, and that's allowed. Okay, that's allowed because that's what protesting is. Well, however, when you wail out on someone, now let me say, I was happy to see Richard Spencer getting punched just simply because when you are preaching on an ideology that leads, if you're preaching on a political platform that calls for the genocide of an entire race, yeah, sure, I love to see you cry about how it hurts because your eye is black now, right?
Yes.
Well, but I mean, I for one, as funny as that may have been, I don't like the precedent that sets. You know, I don't like people justifying punching somebody because they're a Nazi. Because that just leads to a slippery slope. If you can punch a Nazi...
you also, I like how you brought up...
Did we lose Joe?
I don't think... no,
hello?
Yeah. Here. There it is.
Live on scene, we're going to have some more technical difficulties. But regardless, back to what Omar was saying. I like how you said it brings up precedent because I believe he got punched a second time that day.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it was that same day, but it was definitely he definitely got punched again.
Yeah.
And it was quickly. It was soon after he got punched a second time. And I remember seeing someone tweet, join us in this new ALS fundraising challenge, punch Richard Spencer. So people were like turning this into kind of a like challenge almost. It's like no, don't go that far. You're not going to inflict violence. Now let me explain the true reason why I was actually against Richard Spencer getting punched. The same reason why I was against these protesters lighting shit on fire against Milo. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name anymore. But these Yiannopoulos. Okay, so these. There we go. These people, these protesters, may have their heart in the right place. Maybe they start off with a normal protest. As you saw behind Richard Spencer, there was actually a protest of people chanting that he was a neo-Nazi and holding up signs that I believe said white lives matter too much. Well, that is how a protest starts, and that's a great thing. However, on a sociological level, sometimes shit hits the fan, and you have someone come through the crowd and punch the guy in the face, or in the case of Milo, you have people setting random shit on fire and writing very, very derogatory things, beating up Trump supporters, etc., etc. Now, you can say both sides do this. I can recall and possibly link to countless articles back when Trump was campaigning about how his supporters would beat up and ridicule random Bernie supporters, but that's irrelevant. Protesting is protesting. Whether it's on the left or whether it's on the right, it really doesn't matter. All protests are rooted in the same concept of you're not happy in your current political situation and you're showing it.
It's one of the fundamental rights of our democracy, you know. It's protected under the First Amendment.
Before I drone off and take this way farther than I need to take it, why I'm against the protesters against Milo committing the crimes that they did, crimes, quote unquote, the acts of violence, and someone coming out and punching Richard Spencer in the face, is you are giving people like Richard Spencer and like Milo the propaganda that they need to put on their own platform and say, look at this, look at this, the repressives, the people with these violence.
Yeah, I mean, right after this, Milo Yiannopoulos went on Fox News and said, well, this is exactly, they're proving exactly my point about the intolerant left not being willing to hear other opposing opinions. And I'm like, God damn it, they're playing right into his hands. And
now, I'd also like to say, though, the whole, they're not listening to ideas. We all know that they're bullshitting. We all know that what their platform is destructive and racist and wrong for the most part. However, when you look at these people and they're committing violent acts during a protest towards these people, the average person doesn't really look at what platforms are. They look at how much damage was done.
On the news, all they'll hear is blah, 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 left-wing protests, blah, 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 violence, blah, 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 UC Berkeley. And that's what's going to create this giant, this giant opinion that, wow, the left is really intolerant, and the left really just does not like hearing about other people's opinions. And unfortunately, a certain degree of the left is like that. I think there's a certain degree of the left that does not want to listen to opposing viewpoints and just bunkers down into this giant echo chamber. I know before we were recording, Joe and I were talking about Steve Shives, but that's a perfect example of somebody on the left that is hiding in this ideological echo chamber where he blocks literally anybody with a dissenting opinion or even just questioning his beliefs.
Actually.
I'm sorry, what?
I think I'm blocked by Steve Shives. I'm blocked by, like, the vast majority of people who blocked me are Hillary Clinton supporters, to be honest, during the election. And,
Same.
I actually, do you know Charles Blow? I think he's like a New York Times columnist. Yeah, he blocked me. Like, that was
Same.
That was like
Sweet.
That was my proudest moment, actually. Yeah.
that was your finest moment was being blocked by a New York Times reporter.
That's
hey, we're leftists. We don't really have lives.
Yeah, right.
No.
That was my most.
But
that was my
regardless,
Twitter moment, at least.
I'm actually blocked by people on both sides. I forget his name because this is so irrelevant to me. But the guy, former baseball guy, Kurt Schilling, something like that.
Really, you're blocked by Schilling?
Yeah, I'm blocked by Kurt Schilling because I called him a pro-Hitler Nazi back when that whole incident happened.
Oh.
And
so you literally just
I didn't even tweet.
Ideology.
But here's the thing. I didn't even tweet at him. I mentioned him, and then a couple days later, I was going to write an article about it. So I went to his Twitter page to see if I could find the tweet that he did, and he had blocked me.
Interesting.
So
most of the people that have blocked me are the social justice warrior types. Your Steve Shives, your Riley J. Dennis, your Milo Stewart.
No, I can understand
I haven't noticed those people that much. I've mostly.
Then again, I did tweet at Riley Dennis and did ask him how long his penis was. So I guess
Elijah, what you said was you've been blocked by a lot of Clinton supporters. Well, I've had situations where there was this one Clinton supporter who was just unable to talk to me about policy, and she actually retweeted something that I said. She put, for every retweet and like I get against this guy, I'll donate $2 to the Hillary Clinton Foundation. Wow. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, rather than actually having a discussion, yeah, exactly. Rather than having an actual discussion with someone, you're just going to flaunt money and flaunt power into someone's face. Oh wait, that's what Hillary Clinton did as well. So it looks like her supporters kind of followed suit in that aspect.
Talking about Hillary Clinton corrupt?
Now, I just want to ask.
Wait, did you guys hear that? Going back to Milo,
yeah.
You're fucked if you listen to him, Yiannopoulos or whatever. He had that charity for what was it, like white guys or something?
Oh yeah, he had that. Yeah, I was listening to. He was on Sargon's live stream and he was talking about having a fund for
find out what he did with it?
white male only college funds.
Did you find out what he did with it though? He deposited it directly into his bank account.
Oh, that's my dog.
See, this is also why I look at people like Milo and I look at people in that kind of category and I go, I really don't think you guys have a real political platform. I think you guys are just trolling because you have nothing better to do.
He is a professional troll. He's a professional troll.
Well, not just that. He's a scam artist. Like I swear, the majority of conservatives are scam artists. Like everyone from
Trump.
Everyone from Milo to Ann Coulter is just out there to.
Well,
make
I don't
money.
think Ann Coulter's a scam artist. I think she's just disingenuine. I don't think she believes any of the shit that she says.
No, exactly.
She's just a scam artist. You're preaching an ideology that you yourself don't believe.
I guess in the technical sense, but I'd say she's just very good at marketing, just like Donald Trump. She's very good at playing to a specific crowd and milking.
You are literally describing a scam artist by also calling her nothing like a scam artist.
She's playing a character and pretending that character is real life, and people who aren't very bright buy into it.
Well, that's not her fault that the people that watch her and listen to her are just not bright.
That's literally what she's trying to do.
I think that makes her smart. And as much as I absolutely hate her, and she as much of a skeleton as she is, I think that she's a genius in some respect. That she's able to corner this
scam artists are genius.
Yeah,
scam artists is these type of people. Like, look at Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
I called him Bernie Madoff because he made off with a lot of money, but Madoff, I should say. These types of people, they are geniuses. Yeah, they're scam artists, but they're geniuses because they know how to play with people. They know, I could take this and I could take that and I can make a whole bunch of money and make a lot of power and move on with my life, even though I don't believe in anything that I'm doing.
Saying about the protest. That ties in exactly to what I was saying, because you might say like, oh, now Milo has cannon fodder for his propaganda on Breitbart. Here's the thing: Milo is going to make up propaganda regardless of what the left did. So you might as well.
But let's be real. Let's be real.
The thing
Let's
is,
be real though.
Actually
what resonates? What resonates more with, like, that's going to work for conservatives? Yes, let's just say that. But what's going to work for this person?
With people that are independents. They're going to see, oh look, these left-wing people are attacking this guy just because he was going to have a speech at UC Berkeley. That doesn't sound right.
No.
That's
but
exactly
it's not also just independents though. You're also looking at Democrats who are fed up with the party. You're looking at people who are tired of the Democratic Party being what it is, and that could be on any front. And these people are going to look at this protest and they're going to go, "This is why I'm leaving the Democratic Party."
Yeah,
and that is a shame.
What is it? July 29th? That is Dem Exit Day.
Hold on. Last time I checked, Republicans are 23% of the electorate, and Democrats are like 35%. Okay.
Wrong.
Something along those lines.
I thought it was like 44% are Democrats, 35 are Republicans.
Nah, it's way dropped. It's people don't.
No, it's dropped.
Yeah. So and if you look at the people who voted for Trump, okay, Trump got half of the electorate because half of the people didn't vote and half of the people who did vote voted for Trump. Well, not really. Like 46% of the people who voted for Trump. So Trump got like what, 23% of the population? Basically, everyone who is a Republican voted for Trump. And do you know why they did it? Because he was the Republican candidate. He was the yes, exactly.
They fall in line.
Let
me say something. There's a quote that I love. There is a quote that I love that perfectly describes what you're saying. Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. A Democrat's going to fall in love with their candidate, whether it be a Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders or anybody. They're going to fall in love with that candidate, and they're going to die for that candidate. And they're going to stay with that candidate. They're going to love it. And I do have a question that I'd like to follow this up with, just to ask and see straw polls. So remember, Democrats fall in love with their candidate. Republicans, they fall in line behind the candidate that wins. They like winners. They like leaders.
Well, once again, that's exactly the point when it comes to the psychology between liberals and conservatives. I was looking at this. I think Jordan Peterson was saying something about this where Democrats or left-leaning people tend to have more empathy and tend to care more about those kind of emotions, while Republicans or right-leaning people tend to care a lot more about things like leadership and loyalty.
Yeah. And not just that. Liberals and leftists tend to be empathy-driven, and conservatives tend to be fear-driven. That's why they're called reactionaries. Someone who writes about this is Jonathan Haidt, I think is how you pronounce it. It's Haidt. He's a social psychologist. He has done some work on like the different values that lead people to make political.
It's really It's really interesting stuff. Conservatives tend to be more hardworking than liberals, but liberals tend to be more entrepreneurial.
No, that's not true. Wait, hold on. That's not true. That's not true, though. That's not true. If you look
at, I'm tending to side more with Elijah on this conversation so far.
Like, give me a chance to explain though. Like, all right. So the majority of Trump voters made over $50,000 a year. All right, and now we have this mythology in the United States that if you work harder, then you make more money. That's simply not true. Like the hardest.
No, that's definitely not true.
The hardest workers are making minimum wage. Like that's just.
Well, I mean, definitely people that are on minimum wage have to be working hard by definition.
Yeah.
Because they need to make that money to survive.
No.
I think it's laughable to say that Mark Zuckerberg is 15 million times more rich than your average McDonald's worker because he worked 15 million times harder.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. And what I think
Zuckerberg's fucking face, there's no way he's like that Herculean.
Real quick. Just to rein this back real quick. The only reason why I brought up Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line it's a perfect segue from Elijah's comment. But I also have this question to ask you. Who did you vote for in the 2016 election? I'm not talking primary. I'm talking general election. Elijah, how about you?
I voted for the Green Party.
You voted for the Green Party?
Yep.
Right?
You voted for Stein?
Yeah, Stein. Well, I voted for Jamu Baraka, to be honest. I didn't vote for Jill Stein.
You didn't even vote for Jill Stein?
Man,
all right. So not only
I was going to vote for Jill Stein, but then I was going to vote for Jill Stein, but then I heard that folk/rap album that she released, and I just I wrote in Bernie Sanders. I just could not, write.
In hindsight,
could not bubble in Clinton for the life of me. Yeah. I just wrote in Bernie Sanders.
In hindsight, I should have.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I took the path that I saw historically fit. I looked at historical accuracy. I looked at historical precedent. I looked at previous historical matches, specifically Woodrow Wilson, William Howard Taft, and Theodore Roosevelt, where Theodore Roosevelt split the vote and cost a major victory for the Conservative Party. Yeah. I look back at that. I voted for what I considered the lesser of two evils for Hillary Clinton. I did not push Bernie bust because I knew a little bit of progress is better than bust. And now, as you can see where we're at, we're sitting in bust.
I wouldn't quite say that. I think that and we're going to be talking about this later. But this is why I think that in some ways a Trump victory is better for the Democratic Party than a Hillary Clinton victory, because I think that the Democratic Party would be stuck in stagnation if Hillary Clinton won, rather than if Donald Trump won. They would be mobilized and energized in having to reform and rebuild the Democratic Party, which it desperately needs.
I do want to say there is a bit of it's great that this is the setup that we have, because we have the three different perspectives. We have the Green Party voter, the Bernie Sanders voter, and the just pick the lesser of two evil voter. Not necessarily that's what I always run with, and not necessarily that's what either of you run with.
You say that as if you voted more than once.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But when you look at that spectrum, I have this question to ask you. You say that, if Hillary Clinton would have won, then we'd be in stagnation. Is that better? A stagnated party that will slowly chip away? Because trust me, even if Hillary Clinton was elected, I think that would have shown the people this is just more lukewarm neoliberalism. And I believe that people like the Justice Democrats, people like the DSA, people like the Green Party, and people like Bernie Kratz, people like us would have run for office under Clinton in an attempt to primary the people out of the
I think it would be less successful, because I think the Justice Democrats and the rest of them have gotten validity by telling the rest of the Clinton and old school lukewarm Democrats, we told you that Clinton was going to lose. We told you that Sanders was the better candidate, and you didn't listen to us. And now,
no. I get where you're coming from. But is it really worth it to put a man like Trump in charge, or Bannon, I should say, in charge of the United States for, let's be real, 8 years? Because look at Bush. We all said, not we specifically, of course, because of course we were way too young for that, but look at Bush. Everyone was saying Bush is not going to win a second term, especially after 9/11. He
wouldn't have won if he was Howard Dean in 2004.
Two things. Why he lost. Why George Bush won. He ran up against wet sock John Kerry, who was a terrible
and he was a war president. And he was a wartime president.
And there we go, number two.
Wartime presidents almost always get reelected.
Now here's the thing. Trump is going to put us in a war.
I wouldn't quite say that. He seems fairly isolationist, which in some points are bad, in some points are good. No. I think when it comes to civil conflict, he won't get us into any more that I can think of.
Someone fact check this real quick, just to ask. Is it actually true that during his conversation with the president of Mexico, he said, "quote unquote," "You've got some bad hombres down there. Your military's weak. I might send some of my guys down there."
Sure they were quoting.
I think he said you got some bad hombres, but I don't know if he said he's gonna send in the feds.
Yeah, I don't actually know that.
I know he said he wanted to send in the feds in Chicago.
Yeah, so there we go. But honestly, though, if you think back. Think strongly about this. Trump may be an isolationist to some extent. He's pissing off everybody. Yeah. Now, I, for one, I hate the TPP. I'm glad he pulled out of the TPP. That was probably the best thing that he's ever going to do. That pissed off quite a few nations. That pissed off quite a few.
Wait, okay.
Then you look at...
I don't care about them. If they were
of course, but that's step one. That's step one. Look at what he did next. He pisses off China. I believe China came out and said, like, a war is looking more increasingly likely the more we look at what President Trump is doing.
They said Donald Trump is a baby. That's what they said.
Someone look it up right now. I just want to make sure.
Let's be honest. China and Russia don't want to get into a war with the greatest military the world has ever seen, because not only is our navy twice as large as both Russia's and China's combined, but you haven't even factored all of our allies, including India, England, Germany.
What
Japan.
allies? What allies will we have when Trump's done? He's already pushing away. The United Kingdom, one of our allies, is having a fucking vote in their parliament to ban him from entering the country. Our other ally, Australia, the Prime Minister of Australia was literally scoffed at and hung up on by Trump. He's pushing our allies away.
All right, but in Trump's defense, that Jeremy Corbyn that's starting that whole thing, and Jeremy Corbyn's a loony bin, so I don't take that. I don't take that seriously at all. I think Theresa May has got a good enough head on her shoulders to try to keep diplomatic relationships alive and well. And let's be honest, I think Rex Tillerson will, as bad of a pick as I think he is and as corrupt a pick as I think he is, will definitely cool and quell relationships with Russia because he's pretty cozy with Putin.
We don't need to have a cooled relationship with Russia.
Why not?
Need the former CEO. We don't need the former CEO of a major oil company as Secretary of State with President grab the Iraqi oil Trump over.
Oh, yeah, no. I know. I completely agree with that. But I'm just looking at the silver lining here. With the Hillary Clinton presidency, we would probably.
Why do we not want to be allied with Russia? Well, maybe it's because Putin is very USSR nostalgic. And he's been proving that for years now.
Well, why are we allies
with? The more he enters into Europe, the more he enters into Europe, and the more he talks about creating his own. I can actually explain the Saudi Arabia thing as much as I hate it, but let me explain this first. As much as we hate and absolutely despise the Soviet Union's aspects, you have to look at what Putin is doing as well. He's been pushing into Europe through Ukraine and Crimea and Syria and all of this for years now. Yeah. And then you look past that. I believe at one point he threatened to leave the European Union and start a Eurasian League, which would have included him, all of the second-class, quote-unquote, worlds that were created after the collapse of the USSR. But guess what? He also had China and India involved, and that scared the shit out of Europe for quite some time. Yeah. Now, we don't want to be at arms with Russia. I'm not calling for that. I'm obviously not. The Cold War is over, and we need to keep it that way. However, as I've reported on my site several times in the past few years, we might be entering a new Cold War. And we don't want to be entering a Cold War in a 1984 scenario where all the world superpowers are on one side. It's also bad enough to have a major conflict with nuclear weapons. It's really bad when you have one of the nations controlling the other's interests. And that's what we're seeing. Now, about Saudi Arabia, I'm really big on studying Richard Nixon. I despise Richard Nixon.
Answer. What? I've got the answer of why we're buddies with Saudi Arabia. It's oil. It's
not just oil. It's not. Well, it is oil. It is oil. But here's the historical precedent on this. When Richard Nixon was in office, we all know of the whole big oil scandal. I believe it was in 1972. Correct?
I think so.
Something along those lines. Of course, dates never stick with me as well as names. But if you look at the history of this...
Dates tend to leave you as well, yeah.
Yeah, and in order to get to that, in order to get the oil crisis to end, Richard Nixon had to act fast and talk to OPEC leaders. So what did he do? He promised Saudi Arabia that not only will we have the oil based in American dollars, which really benefited OPEC at the time because our dollar was strong, we will also rebuild Saudi Arabia's infrastructure and enter it into the modern age. And ever since then, we've been buddy-buddy with Saudi Arabia because of that. It's because of the kind of diplomatic structure that we had in the 70s in order to make the oil crisis end.
Yeah, but again, we're able to look past the humanitarian injustices.
Of course.
So then why are we trying to look past the things that Russia's done? Yes, I understand that Putin may have allegedly had his political opponents assassinated, and yes, That is awful. But we are about to get into a trade agreement with Brunei, which officially has Sharia law, and that is not okay.
Now, I do agree with you.
And we're able to look past Israel, you know, encroaching on Palestinians.
No. We. You keep using this royal we. You keep using this royal we. We don't look past this shit. We look at countries like Saudi Arabia and Brunei, and we look at these high Sharia law.
We not as us, but as the United States government.
We are all, I'm assuming, Elijah, of course, that we all three are looking at these countries and going, we should not be allied with these people. They're monsters. They're a humanitarian crisis. And my favorite thing was when Saudi Arabia was appointed to the chair of the UN, the Committee
Human Rights Council.
for Human Rights Council for the UN. That's just bullshit. We look at that and we sneer. Now, what put us there? Neoliberalism and conservatism, which decided to look past that in favor of, you guessed it, wealth. Now, that's rooting back cause right there of centralism, the Clintonite kind of ideology that has existed for quite some time now. We are against that. I'm not
in favor of diplomatic relationships with Russia for the sake of wealth. I'm just on it for the sake of global diplomacy. I don't want to get into a relationship with
there isn't global diplomacy if we ally with Russia, because now it's just two of the world's greatest military powers against everybody else. That's not diplomacy. That's not world peace. That's two massive countries just allying with each other, and all the other countries are ganging up.
Well, I'd rather be allied. I'd rather be allied with Russia than be hostile towards Russia, and I think that's
why do we have to be either? Why do we have to be either? Why be hostile? Why be friendly? Why can't we just be neutral? Elijah, you haven't spoken in a while. Do you have any comments on this?
Okay. I actually kind of.
This is our calm voice.
Yeah. I actually kind of want to return to like the issue of like why the fuck are we allied with Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
Well, I think there's another side to that. Like, why are we so virulently against Iran? Like, how many Americans has Iran killed in the past 30 years?
I think it still spawns back to the days.
It's zero. Iran hasn't killed anyone.
I think all this anti-Iran sentiment is still remains from the Iran hostage taking in 79, 80.
Elijah, I can answer your question in one word. The reason why there's so much anti-Iran settlement is because of propaganda. That's just all we've allowed, and I'm using royal we, obviously not us, but the country has just allowed for generations to have this deep-rooted hatred for political cause to just infiltrate our mindsets. Okay. That is the kind of stuff that we need to end.
That's not.
Once again, let me play devil's advocate here again. Let's not pretend like Iran is all hunky dory. They still are a huge human rights violator. Not nearly as bad as Saudi Arabia, but not many countries are as bad as Saudi Arabia. You know, I think Saudi Arabia still has public beheadings.
Elijah, you keep getting interrupted. I'm sorry about that. We're both kind of like outshadowing you at the moment. Do say your point.
That's okay. I don't.
I'm sorry that I'm mansplaining.
Well, all right. I don't know. Like in some respects, we are worse human rights violators than Iran is.
Yeah, in some respects, I can understand that.
Now,
why do you hate America?
Omar, you keep bringing up in the middle of our arguments. Oh, but we can't look past that. Oh, we can't look past that. We have to realize that they're a human right. We have to realize they're this. Yeah, we understand that exists, and I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast understands that those crimes against humanity exist on all levels. But all countries have their goods and bads, and we should all understand that. I'm assuming none of us are super nationalistic. You know, we don't have that nationalistic nostalgia. But America's not too great either, in a sense. We have a whole bunch of problems in that aspect. You look at Guantanamo, right? We don't even fathom the amount of illegal activities that existed there throughout the post 9/11 era. Of course, there's your lukewarm neoliberalism at its finest. But you look past that. You look at all the drone strikes and all of the illegal activities that happened there. The Iran-Contra. You look at all of the...
Chelsea Manning leaked, all those videos and those papers about bombing innocent civilians and then bombing the reporters and first responders. I mean, yes, of course, we are also giant, giant barbarians in a respect. While George W. Bush may have had 3 full-on invasions of countries in Libya, of countries such as Libya, Iraq, and Afghanistan, we've seen this sort of soft imperialism for Barack Obama, where he doesn't really feel like we need to go full-on imperialism, but instead, just send a couple drones, bomb tens of thousands of innocent civilians.
Well, I'd like to say real quick, he still has gotten us into more conflicts. I do believe there was at least 6 other nations that we've invaded.
7, like 6 or 7, yeah.
Anyways, Elijah, your comment. Once again, we keep shoving you under the rug.
No, that's okay. My comments on what? Like, we're kind of going all over the place at this point.
At this point, we're talking about your original point on Saudi Arabia, Iran, the deep hatred, and we're basically somehow, I don't know how exactly, but we went from the U.S. protests to this. So that's where we're at. When I said these were going to be completely unorganized, I meant it.
Well, okay. Well, the first thing is to accept the reality that Iran is not a democracy. But but then we should wonder why they're not a democracy when they were not 40 years ago. And it's because the U.S. The CIA specifically installed the current government in a coup. And
we've done that in quite a few countries as well.
No.
No kidding. But it's okay. But it's good when we do it because we're the good guys, and we need to stop the bad guys.
There's
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's go. Sorry. No, you go. You haven't been talking as much.
All right. Well, I guess at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that Iran is not a perfect place, but we are objectively worse actors on the world stage than Iran is. And
you're absolutely correct. There was a poll of people from all different nations, and they asked who is the number 1 threat to world peace, and the overwhelming answer was the United States. And I'm not saying this, conservatives. I'm not saying this because they hate the United States. The United States is one of the greatest places to live.
That's a nice little sound clip that you just gave them to kind of like cut everything else around that and just have you say
yeah, really. This guy hates America, and his name
Milo going to be using you as some propaganda next week.
I personally only use toilet paper that is in the pattern of the American flag.
That's not going to make him happy.
I actually once had toilet paper with pictures of Benjamin Franklin on it. I don't know why, but I had it. Really I never used it, but I had it. All right, I know this is a tangent, but have you ever bought any of that like fake toilet paper that's kind of like gauze, where you put that in and somebody tries to wipe down and they can't tear off the toilet paper? That's just funny.
I'm just going to completely take that tangent and ignore it and then move back on to the point at hand, where I like to make this point frequently, that there's this concept that neoliberalism has brought to us, that freedom is why we do everything. Oh, we have to invade the Middle East in the war against terror because freedom. We have to not only keep our values of democracy, but spread our values of democracy to countries that have not yet been blessed by it. But that's not the point. Fuck them, right? They don't have freedom. That's how they think. That's how neoliberals think. So they don't understand this concept. Now, freedom is not being used for freedom anymore. We're seeing the concept of freedom slowly but surely be transformed into a fake word. It's, hey, we're doing this for freedom, when in reality we're just doing it to overthrow their government so that it works in our interest. Now, I like this to use this in, let's just use an example of the trade market, right? In 1997, I believe it was the late 90s, Bill Clinton signed a tariff law against Mexico for Mexican tomatoes. Now, here's the thing about Mexican tomatoes. They were juicier than Florida-grown tomatoes. They were cheaper than Florida-grown tomatoes. And when you take those two aspects and you put them together, consumers liked Mexican tomatoes more than Floridian tomatoes, right? Mm-hmm. Now, neoliberals love the free market. It's the freedom of the free market. But it's no longer the freedom of the free market when the free market isn't working in your favor as a neoliberal. So what did Bill Clinton do? He said, okay, I'm going to sign this tariff. I believe it put on some like over $1 billion. It might have been much, much higher than that. $1 billion tariff, let's just say, to make it so that Mexican tomatoes skyrocketed up in price. And then when that happened, of course, what did Americans do? They went and they bought Floridian tomatoes. Now, here's the thing. This whole spiel that I just said, there are two things that neoliberals could have said to justify this. Number one, the free market was working, but not in our favor. Therefore, we had to take it down. Or the other thing neoliberals love saying, oh, the Mexican tomatoes were suddenly a threat to national security. Those are the two reasons why neoliberals do anything.
Is that one of the things Noam Chomsky? Wasn't that like a Noam Chomsky quote? It sounds like something Noam Chomsky would say.
It is a Noam Chomsky quote. It's from his 1997 consent. It's from his 1997 speech at Yale.
Yeah.
But the reason why I bring this up, though, is those two reasons are the only reasons neoliberals sign off on anything. It's either national security or it's because the free market isn't working in their favor. And what do we cover those two words up with, those two scenarios up with? We cover it with the ideology of freedom.
All right, I'm gonna actually refrain from using the word literally in absence of sounding like a bitch, but It almost seems like these blue dog Democrats / neoliberals are just libertarians with no principle. I mean, that's pretty much what they've become. And I have quite a bit of respect for most libertarians. I think they're wrong on half the issues, but they're good when it comes to social and domestic and foreign policy.
Some of them are good when it comes to social.
But I mean, I think they're completely screwy on economics. But the one thing that separates libertarians from conservatives and other people on the right is that they're genuinely principled. They actually believe in what they stand for. And these blue dog Democrats take all the negative aspects from the libertarians and also the negative aspects of every other goddamn politician and mix it into one thing, and we don't like it. And I don't think anybody really likes it.
Real quick, just to make an interjection, you keep bringing up blue dog Democrats, right?
Yeah.
Blue dog Democrats are a dying breed, and they've been dying off for a very long time. I believe in the early 2010s, their membership in the caucus dropped like half.
Well, that's something that Bill Clinton created. No.
Yeah. Create is a strong word. You had a heavy hand in, yes, but if you're looking at blue dog Democrats as a threat, as a standpoint, as a perpetrator, these guys are almost done. I've been discussing for the past few months now. Americans are witnessing like the complete end to political elitism. Now, it may seem weird to say that because of where the situation is now, but it's true. People are rising up on both the left and the right. The neoliberal lukewarmness coming from blue dogism is not really good anymore to these people. Now, this election has done something terribly bad. I do want to make that clear. We've been kind of like dancing around this subject for however long we've been talking now. But this election did something terribly bad. It created a neo-fascist ideologue. And that neo-fascist ideologue is going to be in control of the government for, let's be honest, 25 years if he gets his Supreme Court nominee. It's going to stay. What the things that exist now, the things that are happening right before our eyes, these contemporary political issues are going to be mattering for decades to come.
Yeah, now, and of course, Bernie Bros and fake news and Jill Stein are to blame.
Of course, if you're from that angle, but the one thing that is even worse about this neo-fascist ideologue is it is supported by foreign embezzlement, corrupt corporatism, and a cabinet that shadows itself behind money and power. Yeah. And that's exactly what we've been seeing for a while. I do believe that this government, if things work the same way how it worked after 2 terms of Bush, hopefully it happens in 1 term under Trump, if it happens the same way, we'll be done with this for quite some time. And blue dogism is going to go downhill. History will frown, and I believe this is a quote from one of my articles. I'm sure it is by now. I've written several different theses on this subject now. Yeah. History will frown upon the late 2010s just as much as it currently frowns against late 1930s.
Yeah, I can see that. I could see that. Although, in defense of the late 1930s, that was FDR, and FDR is Bay.
I'm not saying just America. I'm saying total of the world.
Oh yeah.
The 2010s are going to be summed up as the 21st century's own 1930s, in my opinion.
Probably.
Now, I don't believe, and I need to make this clear for everybody who's on the left, I don't believe that we're going to enter a George Orwellian kind of dystopian future. I believe that's some conspiracy theory that we're acting like is going to happen just because Trump's in charge. Now, Trump is terrible. He's going to set us back 100 years, 100 plus years more on social terms if we're not careful and we don't obstruct everything possible. But I don't believe we're necessarily screwed forever, in a sense. I do believe that this will cause the rise of a new left, just as Democrats, the DSA, Green Party.
Here's the thing. Trump is a populist by his nature, and there are a lot of things about Trump that
fake populist.
I wouldn't even say that. I think he is, for a lot of things, a genuine populist. He says things that most politicians would not dare to say, and some of them,
but
yes,
he doesn't really.
Some of those things are.
He doesn't do them though.
Really? I mean, already he's done.
No, of course.
Already
yes.
he's done the Muslim ban. Already he's killed the TPP. He's already discussing building the wall. He's already doing all this stuff.
Well,
he's
how about
already doing like half of his.
Here's the thing, though. You're not focusing on everything that he's saying. Remember when he said, "Oh, I'm not going to cut any cuts to Medicare and all of these other programs."
He hasn't yet.
Forever. He hasn't yet, but guess what? He's already thinking of it. He's already talking to his advisors about how it can be done. He has backpedaled on all of the campaign promises that resonated with quite a few Democrats besides the TPP. That one was bound to happen.
But let's be honest. If we compare Trump and all the things that he said, yes, they may be awful. Yes, they may be abhorrent. Yes, they may be insert buzzword here. At least he is keeping his word on a lot of his things. And yes, I don't agree with him, but at least he's keeping his word.
Elijah, what do you feel about that?
That Trump is a populist is it's kind of silly, honestly. I'm not saying that there aren't some things he's doing that are genuinely popular, but this idea that he's acting in the public interest is a little ridiculous.
Well, let's look at his rhetoric. His rhetoric does by no means toes any party line whatsoever. He made diehard conservatives in the South believe in infrastructure spending, which is a primarily liberal idea. He made them believe in not cutting Social Security and Medicare. He made them believe in, while he may not say it explicitly, health care for all. He's said things that no Republican since ever really has said ever. And I think
we've had talks about building a border wall since 2008? Was that in the 2008 election?
And I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I think every country should have borders. I mean, for you to have a nation, you must have a central government and established borders.
Let's just go down a list of. I'll push back on that in a minute, but let's just go down a list of things that items in Donald Trump's platform that seem populist but aren't actually populist. Because I think this is an actual theme with Donald Trump, repealing the TPP. That is objectively popular with the American people. The American people are distrusting of the TPP for good reason. That's a good thing on surface, but what is Donald Trump going to replace the TPP with?
Hopefully nothing. And I think if he actually replaces the TPP with another trade deal, he's going to be lambasted.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I blanked. I've been blanking out in and out. Technical difficulties again. But did you hear what I said about what he'd actually replace TPP with?
No.
Well, I said he's most likely going to replace TPP with a big building with his name on it.
Yeah, well, exactly. Donald Trump is going to literally erect a tower called like, I don't know, Trump trade deal or something like that, or the Trump Trans-Pacific Partnership. Like it's just gonna like.
I can't see him doing that, and that might just be my naivete.
I don't want to hear. Well, I don't want to hear jack shit from a guy who makes his ties in China and Mexico say, I'm against trade deals that don't bring jobs to America. Yeah, no, I don't believe him.
Bullshit. That's absolute bullshit.
He's going to take away anything that has Obama's name on it, and a couple years down the road, we'll see something else with Trump's own name on it.
Well, look, he's made it very clear, that he wants to keep jobs in America, and he's already talked to Carrier. And yes, I understand that it wasn't the magnificent, glorious thing. Let's talk about Carrier.
Let's talk about Carrier for a second, because that's another example in this trend. Okay, so he talks to Carrier and he saves several thousand jobs. Let's commend him for that, right? He would have to talk to Carrier like 3 times a day for the next 8 years to equal the amount of job growth under Obama.
Yes.
Well, but at least look at what he's doing. Any other Republican in the running for president would not have called Carrier to save those jobs.
They absolutely would have. And they just
no, they wouldn't have. The only 2 candidates against TPP in this election were Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump. They were the only ones who were against this free trade deal.
And I'd also like to mention, piggybacking off that point, that both of those men, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, actually made significant movements throughout their party, whether they be positive or negative, and that's because they're different than your average typical politician.
But Trump's significant movement was taking like Reaganism to its logical conclusion. It wasn't taking the Republican Party in any new direction.
Well, of course not. It's not a new direction. He spun it as something new.
Well, it's definitely a change from what we've had in the past 20 years. So you could call it a revival or something. If you look at it, Bernie Sanders' movement isn't anything new either. If anything, it's a revival of the FDR movement back in the
both campaigns under Trump and Sanders are going to appear different when all we've seen in the past generation is nothing but neoliberalism.
Yeah, that's all we've seen, nothing but garbage for the past 20 years. And finally the American people had a choice to choose people that broke the mold, and unfortunately the DNC fucked up big time and tilted the scale.
Can we all just agree that anyone other than Hillary Clinton would have won? Like anyone other.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
They could have
Lincoln Chafee?
They could have run Lincoln Chafee, and Lincoln Chafee would have
No. Lincoln Chafee has the charisma of a cardboard box.
Okay, Hillary Clinton has fucking epilepsy.
I think the only 2 candidates.
No. And I legitimately can't be out in the sun for more than an hour because I'm extremely weak to the sun, and I will pass out. Like I get heat exhausted in no time at all. But
you're not running for president, though.
But I'm not for one. I'm not running for president. For another thing, like that's when it's like 100 degrees outside.
Are you saying that she's weak because she's a woman?
How much can you lift, Hillary?
But what I'm saying is, out of the candidates that the Democrats ran this year, I think 2 of them could have beaten Trump. I think Sanders would have.
I want to stop you right now. If you say Martin O'Malley is one of those 2 names, I'm decking you in the jaw next time I see you, because did you not see
Martin O'Malley?
I'd like to say, if you look at the stages of those early Democratic primaries, you had Bernie Sanders, who is the massive populist, the massive progressive, the man who is getting all the rallies and all the support. on one side of Martin O'Malley, and on the other side of Martin O'Malley is Hillary Clinton, who, despite what you think, is going to get a rouse out of people, is going to get people to notice her because she's a Clinton. That's what Clintons do best, is being seen. You have these two major personalities, and then Martin O'Malley, my favorite part of the 2016 election, looking back, my number one most hilarious moment was how he had to beg for 10 seconds as the commercials started to come on. Because you can't rally that. Martin O'Malley was not a personality. You can't fight up against Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders with Martin O'Malley's personality. So I want to bring you back. And I want you to tell me. I want you to repeat. If that is your mentality, if that is your mentality, if your mentality is that you think someone like Martin O'Malley could have beaten Hillary Clinton, then no. You are saying that the guy who couldn't even get 10 seconds in a debate couldn't get...
As much of a Ken doll as Martin O'Malley might be, at least he's not Hillary Clinton, and that's enough to beat Hillary Clinton.
He couldn't even get his name said on a stage.
Not being Hillary Clinton is enough to beat Hillary Clinton.
That's exactly the point, though. Anyone other than Clinton would have won.
Look, if Hillary Clinton could have gone up against Adolf Hitler, and Adolf Hitler probably still would have won the Electoral College.
Like,
I do want to point out, Martin O'Malley, if you would have put Martin O'Malley against Trump, I honestly 110% believe that Trump would have won. I'm sorry.
That's ridiculous.
I do believe Martin O'Malley didn't bring anything to the table.
Martin O'Malley doesn't have the bag.
He's Hillary Clinton without the name.
No, he was fairly more progressive than Hillary Clinton, and that's not.
He was in between. Much. He was in between Sanders and. He was more of an Obama.
I still don't believe he would have won. I really don't. I really don't believe that someone like Martin O'Malley would have had the charisma.
No, you don't believe in the power of Maryland anecdotes, Joe. You don't believe in the power of that family from
You know what?
Look, Martin O'Malley had nice hair.
Tony Chafee 2020. Smile. Let's go.
Okay, Martin O'Malley is hot. You can't ignore that.
I'm taking that point and I'm actually turning it. Pause.
I'm looking up a picture of Martin O'Malley right now. And
I didn't know you fetishized long necks.
He does kind of look like a giraffe, not gonna lie.
I do want to say though, I want to take your point.
Okay, all right, everyone.
I've lost control.
Look at him. Can you not tell me for a 54-year-old this
You're
guy
saying Martin O'Malley could not have won. Martin O'Malley would not have been able to win just based on looks alone. And you know how I know that? We've proven it from who was popular in the 2016 election. We're moving away from the era of robot. No, listen. I'm not even trying to make a joke.
No, you're so right,
turning away from what I like to call the era of robotic politics. Ever since 1960, when Richard Nixon lost to John F. Kennedy because of the one televised interview that showed him as a frail, weak, older man who having difficulty, refused to wear makeup against John F. Kennedy, the Marco Rubio of the 1960s.
Well, okay. Kennedy and Nixon did
ever since then
talked like a sweaty Jew, and people didn't like sweaty Jews.
No. Everything. No. If you talk like. If you look at the people, if they actually did reference research back then, if you look at people who only listen to the debate on radio, they said Richard Nixon won because they like their ideas. But if they watched a television show, they said Kennedy won because Kennedy looked more professional,
confident. And exactly. And that's why Gore lost all those debates against George W. Bush.
That is the reason why ever since then we've had these fake smile and wave politicians.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's part of Trump's appeal. But let's look at who actually. Like who that was actually appealing to. First of all, not every Republican voted in the Republican primaries, right? But it was pretty much limited to Republicans. So that's 23% of the population that could vote, and like I don't know, how many Republicans actually voted in their primaries? Not all of them, and
not as many as that voted in the general election.
Yeah, and Trump only got like 40% of those votes because the other Republicans split the rest of them. So I mean, realistically,
here's the big thing is that
like 8% of the population was like, oh, I really like Trump's no give a shit message. Like,
exactly.
No one cares. No one cares.
And here's the thing. This is why Hillary Clinton lost the election. 9% of Democrats voted for Donald Trump. If those 9% of Democrats didn't vote for Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton would have won. She would have won Florida. She would have won Ohio. That would have given her the Electoral College. And if there was anybody more likable than Hillary Clinton, they would have won at least one out of two of those states. Probably would have won Michigan. Probably would have won Ohio.
Considering that they all came down to like under 100,000 votes, I'm gonna go ahead and say so.
Yeah,
Florida
Martin O'Malley is a robot. Yes, I agree. Martin O'Malley is a robot. He doesn't stand for much. He stands for green energy.
You have to look. No. You keep bringing up the Clinton aspect. Ignore the Clinton aspect for a moment. Ignore how vastly unpopular Clinton was, and just look alone at the fact that it's slowly been happening for decades now. For ever since it started, we're tired of the robotic politicians. We're tired.
Yes, I agree.
And
I do. But if they
pause. I'm getting this point across. I'm getting this point across. I fully blame the beginning of the end of this elitist notion to how Barack Obama handled that 2008 grassroots movement and supermajority that he had. He totally abandoned his grassroots movement in favor of political favoritism, and he ignored his supermajority to play patty cake with the Republicans until the Republicans could have their obstruction field
because
day.
he wasn't really that.
People looked at that. The people who felt. He acted like he was, and he got that grass movement. But then he abandoned it, the grassroots movement. He abandoned it. And I do say that is one of the reasons why we're starting to slowly look away from that. Now, I believe that a different candidate, someone who is different from the robotic notion, would have had a better chance against anyone else. If you look at Martin O'Malley, he is not different. He is your static robot politician. You look at someone like Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, or anybody else along those lines, they are different. They don't have the $1 million smile. They have the sly and sleazy look of they haven't brushed their teeth or cared for hygiene in years. They don't have the perfect combed over Marco Rubio haircut. They have frazzled hair and terrible comb-overs.
Okay, but
you look at them. They're not wearing $12,000 suits.
Okay, but
Ted Cruz, Marco
Rubio, and Jeb Bush all lost because of their personalities, because they don't appeal to the Republican.
Come on, give me a break.
Like Jeb.
Come on, give me a break.
Jeb Bush. No, Jeb Bush was an absolute cuck. Like let's just be real.
Excuse me. His name is Jeb Bush. Not Jeb Bush.
Oh yeah,
no, it's just
Jeb!
Jeb!
Exclamation point.
Dude,
yeah,
he eats nails before breakfast.
Anyway, and Ted Cruz was like everyone's like the kid that got beat up in high school is Ted Cruz basically, or like that kid who you knew went home to like fry cats was fucking Ted Cruz. And Marco Rubio looked like a little boy. Like to be honest, he looked like a 10-year-old in a suit.
Little Marco.
Yeah.
This is what I've always said.
Because he is.
This is what I've always said. Marco Rubio looks like a Ken doll, and Ted Cruz looks like if you held that same Ken doll up to a match.
And it melted.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm trying to say about the 2016 election is difference mattered. They didn't want someone who appeared elite. They wanted someone who appeared like them. And that's why Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump both made movements. Whether you like it or not, Trump is the perfect candidate for the Republican Party because he's Reagan taken to the fullest extent. And he's the perfect poster child.
They love Reagan almost as much as they love Jesus, guns, and sleeping with their sister.
Are you informing me that the Republican Party loves a socialist Jew that wanted free health care?
Yeah, right.
They may have.
I'll touch you in.
Republicans don't like Jesus; they like the Bible.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right. Yeah. You are so right. If Jesus was alive today and ran for president, he would be labeled as a communist and quickly swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, he's Middle Eastern, so he wouldn't get very far.
Yeah, that's right.
I was about to say, have you seen that? Have you seen that post? Have you seen that post of Jesus commenting on like Facebook, and he was just like, "Oh, I actually chose this week to come back, but I actually can't come now thanks to Trump's Muslim ban."
Yeah. I mean,
he says his name is Jesus. That sounds Hispanic.
Anyways, let's try to rein this back in. How long have we been recording?
Too long. I have terminal depression.
Terminal depression.
Okay.
Terminal depression.
I'd like to rein this back in.
An hour. And
I'd just like to rein this back in.
An hour and 9
minutes. 9 minutes. Yeah, it's time to wrap up. I'd just like to say this episode. I don't know what the hell we just spent an hour talking about.
This episode is
telling the truth.
By Pornhub.
This is probably the most unscripted podcast I've ever listened to.
But you all loved it if you stayed till the very end.
You mean it when you said you've listened to it because you really didn't do much that much talking. But
well, that's to be honest, yeah.
I do want to say the first episode is always going to be the weirdest, just because we're going to slowly sink back into this. And it's always going to be the hardest because, as you can see, we had technical difficulties at the very beginning and throughout it. This episode, pretty much done, I'm going to say. We've gone on long enough.
We can keep talking forever, but I mean, yeah.
But I'm tired, and I need to go use the restroom. Like I've had to go use the restroom for the past 2 hours, but Joe's telling me I couldn't go pee because he's mean.
I never said that, but okay.
All right.
I'd like to just say real quick though before we end this all. I don't know what I'm going to title this freak show of a podcast, this episode's title, but probably something along the lines of The Intolerant Left or something along that lines. Well, I'll bicker about that later behind the scenes. You're listening to the first of hopefully many episodes of unscripted madness between, hopefully these two guys stick around. I'd love to have this trio going on. What?
Joe. All right. So what are you thinking about? Should we give these guys 2 podcasts a week? Tuesday, Thursday? Sound good?
I'm not sure yet. I'm going to see how this one gets receptive first. I'm going to just do a little test. This is like a test. We'll figure out what happens there. Please watch till the very end. You will be surprised. Yeah, I do promise. Very end. This will be less madness as time goes on, hopefully.
Yep. Hopefully more speaking from Elijah because he needs to speak more. Do better next time.
Hopefully less speaking from Omar because my ears hurt. And,
no, more speaking.
We're going to end it here. So there we go. You're listening to the hopefully heavily ironic first episode of the Brothers of the Proletariat, otherwise known as the Broletariat Podcast. I'm Joe Kaminski. You all know you can find me on Twitter at Publishing Minds, or you can, obviously, you're probably already listening on my website, but josephkaminski.org. And I'm here with Elijah and Omar, and they can do whatever background story they want to do at the end.
Don't try to fucking find me, okay? Leave me the fuck alone. Okay? I live in the middle of the desert, alright? I'm in a cave right now, alright? The only reason I came out of the cave and drove 100 miles to the nearest city was to do this podcast. I'm going to go back to my cave now, and I do not want to be found. I do not want to be found, okay?
All right.
Until next week.
My name is Omar. You can probably find me in your in your nearest grocery store, screaming at some cheese. Please do not disturb me. I am prone to attacking people. Stay liberal, stay beautiful.
Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up.
All right.
I might make a Twitter account for this. Who knows? Anyways, that's the end. If you've actually managed to listen this long, kudos to you. I hope I'll see you next episode.
I've only managed
Goodbye
to
if you speak in English. Adios if you speak in Mexican, and whatever.
All right, that's the end. Cut it.
Bye.
All right, we good?